So after Horizon Forbidden Dawn came to PC, Forbidden Dawn, that's not right. That's not right.
Marker.
So after Horizon Zero Dawn came to PC, it really shouldn't have surprised anyone that Sony had intentions to bring the next game in the series over once they deemed it appropriate to do so. Now, I'm not sure what made Sony think it was appropriate to port Forbidden West before Bloodborne, Demon's Souls, or Ghost of Tsushima, but that's the timeline we're living in, and I guess we just have to make the best of it. Even though I really don't want to. But yes, the timeline that you and I inhabit together is indeed going to be getting Forbidden West on Steam in the very near future. Apparently a, quote, complete edition for the game showed up on the Singapore ratings board before being removed, and then the whole thing was reported on by a number of insiders who claim the game will include the base content of Horizon Forbidden West and the DLC, and will release on both the PS5 and the PC, presumably on Steam and the Epic Games Store. So if you've been looking for a new sleep aid, you're in luck, dear viewer, because soon Horizon Forbidden West will be here to knock you unconscious in brand new ways, and frankly nobody should have been surprised by this, because if Sony didn't intend to release Forbidden West on PC, they wouldn't have ported Zero Dawn. It's the same reason why nobody should be surprised when Spider-Man 2 or God of War Ragnarok show up on Steam in the next year or two. But given the fact that we're living in the dumbest possible PlayStation timeline, not only is Sony rushing out Horizon ports before the games that PC gamers actually care about, but a certain segment of the PlayStation base is somehow surprised that this is happening, and they're mad about it. Who would have guessed that? Even though they absolutely should have seen this coming. And if these people really want what's best for Sony, like they say they do, I really don't understand why they're still mad about the fact that Sony is making a buttload of money off these relatively low-cost ports, going to a platform that doesn't even directly compete with them. So naturally, when the news of Forbidden West hitting the PC started to make its way around Twitter, the PlayStation diehards came out in full force against it, and I took screenshots because the Starfield salt may be old news, but god damn it if the PlayStation community isn't doing their best to make up for all that lost ground. Another PlayStation game on the PC. What happened to the great Sony, the exclusive company? Now you are paying more attention to PC users than to your own console. How sad. I love the PlayStation, but we are living in complicated times, which I miss the PS4 era. The fact that you think Sony being the exclusive company was ever a good thing kind of shows your hand here, but also in what universe is Sony not paying more attention to their console base than their PC base? Like, there's this weird idea that Sony is paying more attention to the PC because they port an older game every few months. I just don't understand this. PlayStation is #1 on the priority list all the time for Sony. Like, how fucking entitled is this community that once Sony starts porting year-plus old games to a platform that doesn't even compete with you, you start crying that Sony doesn't love us anymore? Like, fucking Christ. Sony is digging its own grave by this money-grabbing policy of PC ports. I feel betrayed as a longtime fan. At Shitbox, it is understandable that all games are on PC because of Microsoft, but Sony? Damn. By this logic, Sony doing literally anything is money-grabbing. Like, yeah, the PC ports make them money. Do you want them to stop grabbing that money? Or do you want everyone to be forced to buy a PlayStation in order to play those games? Which you somehow don't think is money grabbing. Like, just so we're clear, Sony puts older games on PC, money grabbing. Sony tries to force you to buy a console you don't want, not money grabbing. Okay. Yay, arrogant Sony is back. If they keep this up, they're gonna start losing market share too fast to react. It's how these things work, and it may be a few years away, but Sony better wake up. I love this. I've been talking for weeks now about how Sony is losing their way because of stuff like the PS Plus price hike, the console price hike, the $70 games, the peripherals that no one asked for, but only now do you think arrogant Sony is back. All that other stuff is fine. But once they announce a PC port of a cross-gen game from a year and a half ago, now it's arrogant Sony. I truly do not understand. And I really don't think you understand either. PC nerds love to feed our table scraps. We have left more than puppies and pit bulls do. Good luck on stealing games, you delusional PC nerd clowns. Why did you specify pit bulls? Like, you realize pit bulls also start as puppies, right? Like, look at my pity. This dude was a puppy once. But also, good luck on stealing games. Well, Sony keeps putting money into porting games over here, so just think of how much we're winning on the PC if Sony is still investing in us despite all the thieves that you think share our ranks. Finally, PC players get to play something better than Starfield. The fucking irony of a PlayStation guy saying that we finally have something better than Starfield, but it was just a couple months ago when the entire PlayStation base was using Baldur's Gate 3 to demean Starfield, despite it literally being on PC and only PC at the time. And also, side note, how many of you PlayStation guys are actually playing Baldur's Gate? Like, just out of curiosity, if you are on Twitter hyping up Baldur's Gate 3 over Starfield on behalf of PlayStation, how many of you guys are actually playing it? Because for the longest time, Baldur's Gate was literally the only thing you guys were talking about, and then it dropped on PS5, and it was total crickets. Just an observation. Let's move on. Jim Ryan destroyed the PS4 Gen exclusivity rep that was a strong foundation for buying a PlayStation, made you feel unique as a consumer. Raised PS5/PS Plus prices, raised PS5 games prices, barely any marketing/communication for months without news. Sean Layden, we all need you back. Again, really weird place to draw the line here. Like, yeah, you're right, PlayStation has jacked up the price of its platform with barely anything in return. But PC ports of PlayStation games have been a thing with this company for a long time. If anything, you should have noticed by now that they're not actually the thing hurting your platform, you know? Like, I truly don't understand how you can think porting games to PC after their hype window is somehow contributing to the degradation of the PlayStation brand in the same way that price hikes are. One game. I don't know why. I bought a PS5 with no games to buy. Keep that in mind. I wonder how many feel this devaluates their PS5 purchase. Exclusivity has always been the selling point of the PlayStation console, and now so many titles are being ported to PC. Bro, if you were only buying the system for the exclusive games, this should be an absolute positive to you, because it means those games that you wanted aren't being held hostage by a piece of hardware that you were indifferent to, you know? Because if exclusivity is the selling point of the platform, that says way more negative about the platform than you realize. If that platform can't lean on the games that it holds hostage, that means it has to entice you in other ways. The platform has to improve. Dropping exclusivity is an objectively good thing for the consumer, but if you've been sucking off Sony for this long, I'm not surprised you can't see that. Nice, there's another 6,000 sales for Sony's first party on PC. Thumbs up. Yeah, I don't know where this comes from. This is another PlayStation fanboy mindset that I just don't understand the origin of. Like this idea that PlayStation games flop on PC. There's literally no evidence of this. All there is evidence that they actually do really well on PC, because every single PlayStation game that comes to PC spends at least a week in the Steam top sellers list. And Steam is a gigantic platform. I know people put a lot of stock into Steam charts and concurrent players, and every new Sony PC port has to be compared to the absolute top of the top sellers, but I can't help but notice you guys don't seem to hold that same standard for new PS5 games, you know? Like the Ratchet & Clank PC port got a ton of shit for having some of the lowest concurrent player counts of any first-party Sony PC port. Never mind the fact that it was sitting in the Steam top 20 for like 2 weeks, so it definitely sold well. But we heard for weeks on end that Ratchet & Clank failed on PC because, you know, it didn't hit the same numbers as God of War and Spider-Man did on Steam. But the fucking PS5 version of Ratchet & Clank only sold a fraction of Spider-Man and God of War on the PlayStation, and no one seemed bothered by that in the slightest. The point I'm getting at is the only way that you can interpret Sony's PC sales numbers as bad is if you're looking at those numbers through a completely hypocritical lens. You guys weren't bothered by games like Ratchet & Clank and Returnal selling less than the heavy hitters on PlayStation, so why is it suddenly a mark against the PC when the exact same thing happens over here? And also, in case I needed to fucking spell this out, the concurrent player counts of a single player game have nothing to do with the number of copies sold. I don't know why people are still trying to act like those two things are connected. The concurrent player count of a single player game has almost nothing to do with the number of copies sold. Because if the game doesn't exist off of players populating servers together, of course the concurrent player counts are not going to be that high. You fucking doofus cake. Why does Sony hate their console so much? Again, how fucking entitled do you have to be to say Sony hates their own console just because they're porting a game from 2022 to the PC? Like, they're still releasing games on PS5 first, they're still snatching up third-party console exclusivity deals for the PS5. Literally all they're doing is porting some of their older games to the PC, a platform that doesn't directly compete with them. And now you're whining about how Daddy Sony doesn't love you enough. Like, fucking good lord. I own the game on PS5, never played it for this reason. Now, not everyone owns a PC or can afford it or afford to keep up with its maintenance, so if you own a PS5 and a PC, I would keep it for future exclusives. A game on my PC. Sorry, I really stopped paying attention after you said you bought the game but then intentionally didn't play it. Like, what the fuck? Hamburg, who the fuck is calling me from Harrisburg? I thought it said Hamburg, it was Harrisburg. I don't give a shit either way. But like, what the fuck point are you getting at here? You complain that not everyone can afford to keep up with PC gaming, but you just openly said you bought a $70 game with no intention of playing it. Like, what? I traded my PS5 for weed. Smart man. What's the point of even buying a PlayStation these days if they're going to release all the exclusives on the PC in a few years' time? Yes, you're starting to catch on. Sony sucks at enticing you to their platform without holding games hostage. Perhaps you should stop supporting their platform until they fix that. You know, like how the open market is supposed to work. Only Gran Turismo left. Yes, Gran Turismo is the only Sony game left to port to PC. Just Gran Turismo. That's the only one that PC gamers want. And you know what? You know what's extra funny about this? We're probably gonna get Gran Turismo on PC before Bloodborne or Demon's Souls. Like, fucking mark my words, that's going to happen. To be honest, releasing exclusive games on PC is destroying the fan base. Yeah, man, expanding the fan base sure is destroying the fan base. What? It honestly amazes me that there's still so much salt around PlayStation PC ports. Like, I really thought you guys would get it out of your system by now. But I mean, I guess, you know, the die-hard PlayStation fans are also the same people that were blindly shitting on Starfield for like 6 months. At least now we're getting some variety again, you know? So keep on the PC ports because it's good for preservation, it's good for the market, and it's fantastic for my wallet. I fucking love making these videos. God, people like watching them too. Jesus, just God, it literally doesn't matter how many videos I make. I'm never gonna be able to end them. I don't know how to conclude videos. I don't. Here's this box of Cheez-Its. I'm gonna eat Cheez-Its and I hate this. Okay, toodles.